two Romanian armies, the 3rd and the 4th, were involved in the Battle of Stalingrad, helping to protect the northern and southern flanks respectively of the German 6th Army as it tried to conquer the city of Stalingrad, defended by the Soviet Red Army in mid to late 1942. Overpowered and poorly equipped, these forces were unable to stop the Soviet November offensive, which punched through both flanks and left the 6th Army encircled in Stalingrad. The Romanians suffered enormous losses, which effectively ended their offensive capability on the Eastern Front for the remainder of the war. Background: following the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact in August 1939, Romania lost almost one-third of its territory without a single shot being fired, as Bessarabia and northern Bukovina were annexed by the Soviet Union on June 28, 1940, after Romania yielded to a Soviet ultimatum. As a result, King Carol II was forced to abdicate in September 1940, and General Ion Antonescu rose to power. In October, Romania joined the Axis and expressed its availability for a military campaign against the Soviet Union, in order to recapture the provinces ceded in June. After a highly successful summer campaign in 1941 as part of Army Group South, the Romanian armed forces regained the territory between the Prut and Dniestr rivers. General Antonescu decided to continue to advance alongside the Wehrmacht, disregarding the Romanian High Command's doubts over the possibility of sustaining a mobile warfare campaign deep inside Soviet territory. In October 1941, the Romanian 4th Army occupied Odessa after a protracted siege which caused more than 80,000 casualties on the Romanian side, severe destruction and many casualties among the civilian population. The spring and summer of 1942 saw the 3rd and 4th Romanian armies in action in the Battle of Crimea and the Battle of the Caucasus. By the fall of 1942, the two armies were poised to join the attack on Stalingrad. Prelude: in September 1942, the Romanian 3rd and 4th armies took up the positions around Stalingrad together with the first elements of the Romanian Air Corps. On September 16, the 7th Fighter Group, on September 25, the 5th Bomber Group, and, on October 4, the 1st Bomber, 8th Fighter, 6th Fighter Bomber and 3rd Bomber Group arrived with the mission of providing air support from the 3rd Romanian and 6th German armies. The Romanian 3rd Army, commanded by General Petre Dumitrescu, was transferred from the Caucasus and replaced 5 Italian and 2 German divisions between Blij Perekopa and Bukovka, with the task of defending a front 138 kilometers long, far beyond its capabilities. To make things worse, the Soviets had 2 bridgeheads over the Don River, at Serafimovich and Kletskaya, which the German High Command ignored, despite repeated requests by General Dumitrescu for permission to eliminate them. At the start of the Soviet offensive in November 1942, the Third Army had a nominal strength of 152,492 Romanian troops and 11,211 German troops, being made up from 1st, 2nd, 4th and 5th Army Corps in a single echelon from west to east, with 7th Cavalry and 15th Infantry Divisions in reserve. The long-range recon and the 112th Liaison Squadrons were also at its disposal. In November came the German 48th Panzer Corps, composed of the 22nd Panzer Division and the 1st Armored Division, which also was put in reserve. It also had the 2nd, 4th, 5th and 8th Motorized Heavy Artillery Regiments and the 41st Independent Motorized Heavy Artillery Battalion. Opposite the Third Army was the Southwestern Front, with a staggering force of 5,888 artillery pieces, 728 tanks and 790 planes. The Romanian Fourth Army, commanded by General Constantin Constantinescu, with 75,580 men, occupied a line south of the city, between Stara Otrada and Sapa. It comprised the 6th and 7th Army Corps. The Romanian Air Corps put at its disposal the 15th, 16th, 17th Observation and the 114th Liaison Squadrons, covering a front of 270 kilometers long. Thus the 18th Cavalry covered a line of 100 kilometers. The reserve consisted of the 6th Roseau Regiment, the 27th, 57th Pioneer Battalions and the 57th Recon Group. Also, the 4th Panzer Army had in the area the 29th Motorized Infantry Division. This army was supposed to check the advance of the Stalingrad front, which possessed 4,931 artillery pieces and 455 tanks. Most of these formations were in deplorable shape, with at best 73% of necessary manpower, with the 1st Infantry Division going as low as 25% and an almost non-existent arsenal of heavy anti-tank guns. Between these two armies was the 6th German Army, under General der Panzertruppe Friedrich Paulus. The battle in the north, on the 19th of November at 0530, in the sector of the 3rd Romanian Army, artillery barrages battered the entire front line, while blizzards, snowfall, and -20 degrees Celsius made close air support impossible. The Soviets assaulted the positions of the 14th Infantry Division with the 5th Tank Army and the junction between the 13th Infantry Division and the 1st Cavalry Division with the 21st Army, with a total of 338,631 men against 3 weak divisions. The 37mm and 47mm at guns were useless against Soviet tanks, so the Romanian troops had to use grenades, anti-tank mines and Molotov cocktails. In the first hours, they managed to delay the advance and destroy some armor, but later they had to retreat to be encircled. The Soviets also attacked west of Zaritsa Valley and at Raspopinskaya, but were repulsed. In response to the situation that developed south of Kletskaya, the 48th Armored Corps was ordered to move towards the Soviet main thrust, and shortly afterwards, the 22nd Panzer Division was redirected to the northwest towards Bolsei, and, reaching Petsheny, it engaged Soviet armor. By evening, the 1st Romanian Armored Division reached Surkovsky, making preparations to attack Bolsei the next day. In the first day of the offensive, the Soviet forces succeeded in making 2 breaches in the defenses of the 3rd Romanian Army, one in the center, 16 to 18 kilometers wide and 15 kilometers deep, and one in the right wing, between the 3rd Romanian Army and the 6th German Army, 10 to 12 kilometers wide and 35 to 40 kilometers deep. On the 20th of November, the Soviet armored and motorized forces advanced towards Kalach, with the intention of encircling the 6th German Army fighting at Stalingrad. The 22nd Panzer Division, overwhelmed at Petsheny by the large number of Soviet tanks, withdrew north to Donchinka. The 1st Romanian Armored Division, without any available radio contact, tried to advance to Petsheny in order to make the junction with the 22nd Panzer Division, but was forced to stop a few kilometers west of Korotovsky by stiff Soviet resistance and numerous counterattacks by Soviet tanks, flowing between the German 22nd and the Romanian 1st, occupying the Varlamovsky and Paralasovsky villages and making the junction with forces coming from Gromsky, thus encircling the 5th Corps. In the 4th Corps sector, 40 Soviet tanks attacked the 15th Infantry Division but were repulsed by evening with heavy losses. Meanwhile, the 7th Cavalry Division unsuccessfully tried to block the enemy's advance. The right wing of the division, which had fully received the blow, retreated south while the left wing was reassigned to the 9th Infantry Division. Also, the 1st Cavalry Division had to retreat towards Stalingrad and was subordinated to the 6th Army. At the end of the day, the defense position of the 3rd Romanian Army had 70 kilometers wide gap in the center. In this pocket were encircled the 1st Armored Division, 3 infantry divisions and remains of other 2 infantry divisions. The former commander of the 6th Infantry Division, Major General Mihail Laska, took command of the troops from the infantry divisions and formed the General Laska Group. At this point, the command point of the 3rd Army began moving to Morozovskaya. On the 21st of November, the 22nd Panzer Division tried to advance towards Perelesovsky in order to make the junction with the 1st Armored Division and to relieve the General Laska Group, but failed and was stopped the next day between Bol, Donchinka and Perelesovsky. The 1st Romanian Armored Division advanced towards Bol, Donchinka, where it was hoping to find the German division, but the village was under Soviet control and then headed south and, after grim fighting, crossed the Chir River on the 25th of November. On the 22nd of November, the encircled General Laska Group, which had been ordered to resist at any cost, was attacked and transmitted its last message. They had run out of food and each gun had only 40 rounds left. After refusing the Soviet proposal to surrender, they were entirely destroyed. Only the 1st Battalion of the 15 Infantry Regiment, commanded by Major Gheorghe Rasconescu, succeeded in getting to the river Chir with all its soldiers and equipment. His battalion had managed to prevent the Soviet 8th Cavalry Division from capturing the vital German airfield at Xlviii from the 26th of November to 3 December. On the 23rd of November, the Soviet troops of the southwestern front and of the Stalingrad front met at Kalach-na-Donu, completing the encirclement of the German 6th Army, parts of the 4th Army and 6 other Romanian infantry divisions and 1 cavalry division. In the south, on the 20th of November, the 4th Romanian Army was attacked by the Soviet 57th Army and 51st Armies, with the main blow in the sector of the 20th, 2nd, 18th and 1st Infantry Divisions. The 57th Army attacked towards Sovetski in the northeast and the 51st Army towards Kotelnikovo in the south. The front was broken at the junction of the 2nd and 20th Infantry Divisions and at the junction of the 1st and 18th Infantry Divisions. The Soviets advanced fast into the breaches created by the first wave, pushing the 13th Tank Corps towards Sati, the Soviet 4th Mechanized Corps towards Plodov and, later, the 4th Cavalry Corps towards Abganarovo. By evening, the 1st and 2nd Infantry Divisions were virtually destroyed and the 18th Infantry Division was in danger of encirclement. Also, the link with the 20th Infantry Division was broken. Despite the stubborn resistance put up by the 91st Infantry Regiment and the 20th Pioneer Battalion, the Soviets broke through Tundatovo and Ivanovka, getting behind the division, and within an hour, most of the Romanian soldiers were either dead or captured. On the 21st of November, the 57th Army advanced towards Sovetski to meet the forces of the Southwestern Front and encircle the German forces at Stalingrad, while the 51st Army advanced towards Kotelnikovo along the Kotelnikovo-Stalingrad Railroad. The 6th Corps tried to resist, while the Korn detachment, backed by German armored units, launched a counterattack towards Abganarovo, with the 29th German Motorized Infantry Division attacking from the northwest. The action failed due to lack of effective anti-tank weapons. On the 22nd of November, the Soviets took hold of Mal-Durbati and Tundatovo, and the Korn detachment was attacked in the Krasnoyaroy area, suffering heavy losses. The proposal by the Romanian command to fall back to better positions on the Xlviii River clashed with the German decision to hold firmly. On the 23rd of November, the Deputy Chief of Staff of the Fourth Army demanded and received from the Romanian General Headquarters the authorization to make decisions independently from the 4th Panzer Army. Subsequently, the 6th Corps fell back to the Xlviii River, but to no avail, as the Soviets were already in control of the communication center of Xlviii. The Korn detachment fell back, leaving the flank of the 7th Corps uncovered. At the same time, the 5th Cavalry and the 4th Infantry Divisions were attacked from the east. In order to prevent the Soviet advance between the railroad and the River Don, a new defense line, with its center at Kotelnikovo, was established. In the afternoon, the Soviet troops of the Stalingrad front met the Southwestern Front troops in Sovetski area, encircling the German forces at Stalingrad. Receiving information about the arrival of a German detachment, the 4th Romanian Army's commander decided to hold its position. The 6th Corps was on the southern bank of the Xlviii River. The 4th Infantry Division from Murmanskovo to Kosobayev, and the 5th Cavalry Division further to Perednyo-Listra, with the link between the two corps being provided by the Korn detachment. The end. On the 24th of November, Soviet activity abated, but the next day, the Russian troops attacked towards Kotelnikovo between the Don and the railroad, pushing the 4th Infantry Division southwards from the left flank of the 7th Corps. On the 26th of November, the Korn and Panwitz detachments managed to push back the Soviet troops which had infiltrated between the two Romanian corps. On the 27th, the Soviets approaching Kotelnikovo were also repelled by counterattack of the Panwitz detachment and units of the 6th Panzer Division, which had recently arrived in preparation for the counterstrike to relieve the Axis forces in Stalingrad. The Soviets managed to break through the line of the 6th Corps at the 18th Infantry Division, thus forcing it to retreat 25 to 30 kilometers south of the river. The losses of the 4th Romanian Army in this operation were catastrophic, up to 80% in personnel at the 1st, 2nd and 18th Infantry Divisions. On the 16th of December, the Soviet 3rd Guards Army started Operation Little Satin and attacked Army Group Holota, which was subordinated the 3rd Romanian Army, along the river Chir. On the 18th of December, the Soviet 6th Army broke through the defense of the Italian 8th Army, and the 18th, 24th and 25th Tank Corps penetrated deep behind Axis lines, threatening the rear of the front on the Chir. On the 22nd of December, the banks of the river Chir were abandoned by the left wing of Army Group Holota as they retreated towards Morozovskaya. On the 27th of December, the 7th Cavalry Division started to retreat towards Bistri after 40 days of continuous fighting, but the following day, General Karl Adolf Holota assigned the 11th Roziori and 11th Kalarazi regiments and the 61st Recon Group the task of defending the German depots at Chernigov. The Romanian cavalrymen held the town against Soviet attacks until the 2nd of January 1943, when they eventually retreated. They were the last Axis troops to leave the Chir line. To the south, the remains of the 4th Army and the Romanian Air Corps were engaged in Operation Winterjuita. which aimed to create a link with the Axis troops in Stalingrad. The main blow was to be delivered by the German 57th Panzer Corps. On its left flank was the Romanian 6th Corps with the Romanian 7th Corps and the cavalry group General Popescu forming the right flank. They were stopped 50 kilometers from Stalingrad, and on the 18th of December, the front held by the 8th Italian Army was broken, with 7 Italian divisions and the Italian Alpine Corps being encircled. On the 24th of December, the Red Army counterattacked, with 149,000 men and 635 tanks. The German 57th Panzer Corps and the Romanian 4th Army, and on the 29th of December, the 57th Panzer had to abandon Kotelnikovo, which sealed the fate of the Axis troops in Stalingrad. On the 15th of January 1943, came another devastating blow. The Hungarian Second Army was encircled and eventually destroyed, with 147,971 casualties. Aftermath. On the 2nd of February 1943, the resistance of Axis troops in Stalingrad ceased. Out of the 91,000 prisoners taken by the Soviets, 3,000 were Romanian. These were the survivors of the 20th Infantry Division, 1st Cavalry Division and Colonel Voicu detachment. The Romanian army lost 158,854 men between the 19th of November 1942 and the 7th of January 1943. This represented 16 of the 18 divisions engaged at Stalingrad and half of the active troops. The Romanian Air Corps lost 73 airplanes. The Romanian armed forces were not capable of recovering after such catastrophic losses, and from this point onward, they would only fight desperate defensive battles on the way back to Romania.